Often I talk with patients about a protective versus a supportive brace. A supportive brace is more in, a protective brace is more out, gives you just a little bit of protection for those insides. I talk about that in greater depth in a different video, but in noting that, I wanted to note that because that's an important piece of why sometimes people have a hard time actually activating their core, their whole core, all the way from pubic bone all the way up through ribs, right? And then overuse their hip flexors instead. So this simple little exercise with an old school blood pressure cuff is a great way to retrain core, get hip flexors out of it, and actually learn to engage all the muscles throughout your core while still breathing, okay? So for this exercise, you'll need, like I said, an old school blood pressure cuff. This particular one is an infant blood pressure cuff. We chose that because it's got the longest tube, so you can actually see the dial when you lay back. So you're going to take that bladder and you're going to put the bladder in the small of your back. There it is. It doesn't really matter how many pumps you give it. You just want to make sure that there's enough there that you are creating pressure, and you can inhale and exhale to see the blood pressure cuff dial moving. Okay, so there's an example of that moving. So to do this exercise, you're going to start by just taking a big breath in, bringing that down into your belly, and then exhaling. As you exhale, scoop that belly button down towards the ground and then rising up towards your ribs, creating as much pressure into the ground as you can. Then you're going to take your next breath, trying to keep that blood pressure cuff dial right where it is. Good. Once you figure out how to do that piece, you're going to then start sliding. So you create your pressure as much as you can, hollowing out through here, not pushing up through the belly, but hollowing. Yes. And then keeping that in the same place, you're going to inhale, and then on your exhale, the leg is going to slide down. You're going to slide that leg as far as you can without letting the dial move more than, say, 5 to 10 degrees. Oh, I'm jumping all over the place today. Ideally, this stays nice and steady. Sliding the leg down. Talking with it is more difficult also. As you're creating that pressure, you want to take a few breaths and make sure that you're at a state where you're figuring out how to contract through core without needing to release that pressure, even though you're breathing. So as you inhale, yes, you want pressure going down into the back, but you want pressure going out in all directions. So in doing the inhales and the exhales, you should be able to maintain stability through that lower body. And once you can maintain that stability within 5 to 10 degrees on your dial, then you can start that leg slide. So you're going to take a breath in, and the best way to start it is to move on the exhale. Some things that can help you stay steady are to drive that opposite heel down into the ground. That's going to turn on glute a little bit more, which is also going to turn on the rest of your core. Another potential option is to take the backs of your hands, your arms, and create a little bit of pressure down into the ground through your shoulders all the way down to the wrist. Look at how much more strength I have when I do that. The jumping means that I'm not doing a very good job of stabilizing through my core. Much better than, oh, I'm cheating. Look at that.
Wow.
So one note is that if you're overusing hip flexors, you'll see that pop up and then pop down a whole lot, right? So I'm going to use my hip. I'm going to use my hip flexors to rock my pelvis back, as soon as I start going there, that jumps way down because I don't have that hip flexor to help keep that pressure. So the few degrees, the 5 to 10, even 20 as you're learning, is indicator that your work is happening through here and not in those hip flexors.